Good morning. Welcome back to Haven Hill Homestead. I am Meg, and it is a cold winter morning. Has it even gone above freezing yet? Do we know? Nope, it's not. It's 30 degrees. We got a dusting of snow yesterday, which was absolutely delightful to see. And there's a teeny bit coming from the sky. But being a Michigan girl, this is like nothing. Like, we would get dumped on feet of snow because we live less than an hour from Lake Michigan. So we literally would just get dumped on. It would go kind of over the lake and dump where we lived. So I miss that a lot. I wish that we had more snow. Anyway, I'm gonna take you into my kitchen today. So one of the things in this I did not grow up as a homesteader. I grew up as a person who, in a family that just deeply loved food. My parents have a restaurant, well, with my brother, in a little town called Mattawan, Michigan. And that restaurant is the second restaurant. The first restaurant was, hold on one second. Okay, so I did not grow up as a homesteader. I just grew up in a suburban town. My husband and I my entire life in Michigan. My husband and I lived in a little farming community until we moved out here, and we're actually in the same town, but now we're in the country. But I grew up in a family that is a restaurant family. I grew up in a family that loves food, and we love to gather around food. And at Christmas time, of course, like many families, it's a big deal. So I wanted to show you and invite you into my kitchen. My girls wanted to bake with me today, and can I just say, like, those are really important skills to teach your kids. My little guy's trying to get to me, and he's climbing over furniture right now.
I see that.
Yeah, you can see Deacon in just a minute. Go get dressed, and then you can go see, and then you can see Deacon. So I grew up in a restaurant family, and families that was super passionate about gathering around food. And we liked developing, like, I remember having aunts that would develop a recipe or just share something that they found that they loved. My mom is the same way. My mom and dad are always trying new recipes. My grandma and my grandpa, same thing. So it's just kind of in me. And I recall very distinctly my grandma, who I base a lot of my recipes after because I spent a lot of time in her kitchen with her. And then when I was little and I was working at our family's restaurant, like little, I'd be covered head to toe in flour. I was usually helping her. So anyway, I remember her making cinnamon rolls all growing up, but I also remember her making sticky buns. Yeah. And I've been thinking about those a lot lately because I want them on Christmas morning. So I've been mulling over what I remember my grandma telling me about dough, and then how I can possibly make a really great version. I don't have her recipe, but I have other of her recipes that I'm kind of piecing together, and then old church cookbooks, and I came up with something that I think is delicious and awfully doggone close to what she did. So sticky buns, sometimes people call them pecan rolls. Sometimes people call them, what else have they been called? What did you guys, caramel nut rolls, that type of thing. So, but for me, we call them sticky buns, and that's what I'm gonna make with my girls today. So come join us. This is a holiday tradition. We spend lots of time in the kitchen, so come on. Okay, good.
Peace on me.
All right, these are my helpers. Not sure how long little guy will last. That could be interesting. Girls' hairs are up. I need to get my hair up. I've been trying to, oh, hold on, let me just have my apron, just a minute. Hi, do you want to help? You want to be a helper? Come here. Come here. I'm trying to figure out the lighting in my kitchen when we're videoing in here, because we actually, it's hard to believe from some of the videos, and as a photographer, I've been a photographer for 20 years, it's very frustrating me when I look back at some of the footage and be like, man, it's so dark. But the problem is we have windows in front of us, behind you, and then we have this window. So the front windows light us up so great, but then the back windows, Posey put her hair up, yeah. But then the back window makes it dark. So I brought in a little extra lighting today to see if we like that, to see if it helps. Right? Okay, did you want to go play? Yeah. Okay, I had to put my hair up too. We have a lot of long hair in our family. I even have a son who has long hair right now. So, all right. So here's the thing about this recipe. I was trying to come up. It's really important to me. If you're new in this space, but I've shared this before, that recipes are simple. So while I'm going to mix everything in my KitchenAid, I want you to know that you do not have to. I've done this before just in a bowl. I don't have a big enough bowl that will work to mix it well without making a massive mess. So that's why I'm gonna use my KitchenAid. A funny story, my grandma used to say, well, dough is never as good until, or unless you do it by hand. And then she was given a KitchenAid as a gift. And I remember her laughing, telling us, okay, the KitchenAid just does a good enough job as well, or as good of a job. So you just need a dough hook. So let me show you what that looks like. If you don't know, this is a dough hook that just goes right on my KitchenAid. It's really important to have this. If you don't have a dough hook, my personal opinion is I would recommend doing it by hand. So this is gonna go on my kitchen over here. I'll bring you over here in just a minute. So my girls are gonna be working with me. Sometimes that makes more of a mess. Sometimes it takes longer, but honestly, I had people that did that with me, and I think it's really important. Get your kids in the kitchen with you. That's a great thing to do. So I taught Willow a while ago when she first started baking with me how to get warm water. You need to have warm water when you're working with yeast. If you don't have warm water, your yeast will not activate either at all, or at least it will be very, very slow. I've done it before when my water is too cool and it just doesn't activate at all. So I taught her how to do that. I just do it with our tap water. And then in here, she's going to go ahead and put everything else. If you've never done dough before, this is the simplest way. So everything but her flour is gonna go in here. And then once this sits for a couple minutes, we'll start rotating how we add them into our mixer. So into this, we're going to do, let me grab your spoons. So into this, they're going to put 1 tablespoon of yeast. I always do my yeast first because that's the one that's gonna take the longest to activate. And then it's 2 tablespoons of sugar. I use organic cane sugar, and I'm super excited because Sam's Club has that out there. You're gonna do the salt for me. Sam's Club has that there now, which is awesome. And I also I have gotten organic sugar at our the Amish store that we have been to as well. There we go, thank you. And then you're going to do, Posey, 1 teaspoon of salt. Willow, you can go ahead and pop the egg in. Yep, can you get it?
Yeah, more than
Nope, it's a full one, yep. There you go, yeah. 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, go ahead and pop your egg in. Actually, let me get that just hold on 1 second. I'm gonna give it a little go around with, I like using, my grandma taught me when you're working with yeast, you almost always use wooden spoons while it's activating. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what she taught me. It's gonna go into a aluminum bowl, but all right. Yeah, it's because it's, yep.
Can I do the butter?
Yep, you can do the butter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pour it in there. This is how I have done dough for years and years. Okay, Willow's gonna gently stir it just to get that egg starting to break apart just a little bit. And now we're gonna let that sit for just a minute. Okay, so here's how you know when all of your liquids, mostly your yeast, is activated. It's gonna start to be frothy on the top. That's what you're looking for, and that's when it's ready to be used. And then from here, I'm just going to rotate, adding flour to my mixing bowl and liquid, mix it up a little bit, and go back and forth until it's all mixed up. I think working with dough feels daunting to people when they're first getting started, but if you take the time to learn it, it's really invaluable, and you realize, okay, this is not that challenging. You can do it. And I've messed up recipes. It's kind of just how you learn. But for me, this has been one of the most simple ways that I can do any type of dough, whether it's bread dough, whether it's yeast dough, sourdough, if we're working with just any type of baked goods, when I'm working with yeast in particular, I get all of my liquids together and then I rotate mixing them.
All of it?
You know what, yes, because this isn't a huge recipe, go ahead and put all of it in and we'll add the liquid slowly. Willow's gonna go ahead and just put half of the liquid in. Do you see this right there? That's frothy yeast. It starts to just expand, honestly. So all the flour right now is in it, because I realized normally I double or triple this recipe. I'm only doing a single recipe today. So we put all the flour in. Here's just a really quick thing about kitchen appliances. This KitchenAid was given to us as a wedding gift in March. It'll be 20 years ago. When you invest in a good one, a good mixer, a good whatever, it's totally worth it. We good? Okay. So one thing I want to show you, this dough, it is almost perfect. I'm going to put a little flour in my hands, get it off of my dough hook, and it's slightly too sticky. I just know because when I start working with it, even a sweet dough, I don't necessarily want it to stick to my hands when I'm pulling it out. So let me show you. This is what I do. This is gonna make a mess. Normally I wouldn't be doing it over my rug. That's okay. My husband would tell you a story about when he walked into my grandparents' house one day. My grandma was baking and she was standing in a puddle of flour and a puddle, that sounds funny, a pile of flour. And then when we first got married and I started baking for him, he goes, well, now I know where you get it from. So I'm absolutely a messy cook, a messy baker, but that's okay. And then my grandpa would come behind her and pick up all of her mess, and that's exactly what Jace does for me. So anyway, all right, so this is really, really good. Now this will sit depending on the temperature of your kitchen. Can you go ahead and stop the minute? So this is gonna go ahead and sit in my bowl. I'm gonna cover it with my dough towel. I usually have a towel that's set aside just for dough. And just depending on the temperature of your kitchen, it could be anywhere between an hour and 2 hours. My guess, my kitchen's pretty warm right now. I'll get the oven going. Sometimes I'll even set this beside the oven if I want it to rise faster. It'll take about an hour is my guess. And then we will come back and roll it out and finish it up. While we're waiting for the dough to rise, we're gonna go ahead and make the sticky part. The sticky part, whatever you wanna call it, the goo, the caramel, it's not really caramel, the maple, whatever you wanna call it, we call it the sticky part. So that calls for a half a cup of either heavy cream, or what I'm going to do is, this is the benefit of getting raw milk from a farmer. We had incredible cream lines this round. Look at this, it's nice and thick and it works great. Cream rises to the top, literally, and that is what I'm grabbing. When I did the test round, hi buddy, yeah, I'm right here. When I did the test round for this recipe, I skimmed off a half a cup of cream and it was absolutely delicious. But if you don't have access to raw milk, no fears. Just go ahead and buy heavy whipping cream and it will be just as delicious. This is why I love this recipe. My goal was to not make frosting. So we are going to do just the glaze. It is 3/4 of a cup of maple syrup. Okay, here's another Sam's Club win. Sam's Club has organic maple syrup, and the goal is to tap our trees this year. It's a goal I've wanted to do a goal I've had for a long time since we moved here, only a couple years. Anyway, I'm super excited about that. But Sam's Club for the win in the meantime. Okay, so Willow is going to go ahead and make this for us. So turn your burner on low. And the really lovely thing about this is, like I said, it's no frosting. My goal is to get away from that for simplicity's sake, but still be so good. So it's 3/4 of a cup of maple syrup. If you don't have maple syrup, you can use brown sugar, same amount. and then your half a cup of heavy cream. So for us, we're using the cream from our raw milk. While we're waiting on the dough, I wanted to tell you one thing that I did, one liberty, one unique thing that I did for these sticky buns. So sticky buns often have pecans in them, like I said. As a kid, I hated pecans. I would actually, when my grandma made them, if she made them with pecans, I would take all the pecans off and just eat it that way. But as I've gotten older, I have come to love them. So you can make it with just plain pecans, no pecans. But I tried something last week that I loved. Now, I'm not saying everybody would. Personally, I loved them. And if you want to try something unique and different, do this. So, a few weeks ago, I made rosemary pecans. Love them. They're super simple. You just put them on a tray, give them a little bit of butter, sea salt, rosemary, put them in the oven until they're nice and golden. You can smell it when they're done. So, and I just keep them in the refrigerator. I love having these for salad. I love having these for all sorts of things that you can do. But I put the rosemary pecans on the bottom of my pan for these sticky buns. It was delicious, guys. It really, really was delicious. So, just something fun if you want to try it. Okay, this, you just stir it until it comes to a good boil. And it was just actually roaring a second ago. And now it's combined very well. And you can turn off the burner. Go ahead, turn the burner off, Betty. And you just wait. And then one more thing that I want to tell you, as I'm still waiting on the dough, is this, a moment of honesty. I will always be honest with you in this space. Is my goal to make my family healthy, delicious? Never healthy at the cost of, like, it should be delicious. Healthy, delicious, amazing, nutritious food, all those things. Yes, it is. And we do that probably 95% of the time. But my husband also brought a tradition to our family. And his tradition was Pillsbury orange rolls. Every Christmas, except for last year, and I'll tell you why, every Christmas, this is what my kids request. And I kind of had my feelings hurt at first, if I'm being completely honest with you. And then many years ago, I just let it go. And I found a lot of joy knowing that this is what Jace brought, and my kids absolutely love it. And that's a good thing. The reason why we didn't have them last year is because they were sold out everywhere. He went to, I think he told me, every local grocery store he could. We couldn't find them anywhere. So he bought these a couple weeks ago already, and we have been saving them. And it's a good thing. So always in life, balance. Never be a slave to anything where you cannot bend. And you know what? This is just really good too. So keeping it very real in the space. This is important to me. What I do in my kitchen is important to me. Good recipes are important to me. Making from scratch food with my kids is important to me. And so is this. So just wanted to share that with you. I did end up moving my dough by my oven, just sitting it right here with a towel on it. I guess my kitchen wasn't as warm as what I thought. So just taking a bit of time, no problem. Pop it right here and it will start to rise real fast. It has been an afternoon, so I don't know what footage I got. Maybe you just saw some. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put it in or not, but right after we were done making our sticky part, the dough was rising, all was going well. I was going to make myself a sandwich, and I was toasting my sourdough bread, And all of a sudden, I look at the plug in as it's toasting, and smoke is coming out of our outlet. A decent amount. And I was scrambling. Praise the Lord, my oldest son was here. When it comes to water, I can handle things. When it comes to kids' injuries, I think really clearly, but I was flustered because I'm thinking fire. Fire! Oh my word, what are we gonna do? And he was yelling for him. He came running upstairs, then he ran back down the stairs, turned the electricity off, or turned all the power off in the kitchen. Anyway, and so we were, long story short, I mean, it ended up being fine. Our outlet is fine, but we had to call an electrician. The electrician came, it took him a few hours, but here's what he discovered. So we've known that our electricity is a bit wonky in certain parts of this house. And when he opened up the outlet, he goes, it looks like somebody tried to probably fix this themselves and did it wrong. So he's like, I can just go ahead and rewire it and check your other outlets. He did all that. He thought one other thing was wrong, it ended up being fine. But as he pulled the wires off, he goes, I'm gonna have to go get you a whole new box. He said, this actually was really bad. He said, this really burnt your outlet. And I'm like, well, would that like have actually caused a fire, or was it just smoking? He goes, oh no, it could have caused a fire. Anyway, all is well, it is fixed, we are safe. But I now have, what time is it, girls? I don't know. I now have approximately an hour and a half to finish this up. And I know if I do not finish this today, it's not gonna get done. It's not gonna happen tomorrow. So the dough is actually great. It's a great life lesson because the dough it ended up rising quite quickly. So I popped it in my refrigerator. Did you know this? You can put dough in your refrigerator to slow it down. You can put dough in your refrigerator overnight. Lots of really great things that you can do to just, finagle and make the dough work for you. And what are you doing there? And he's making himself some lunch now too, because we have been completely our kitchen has been out of service all afternoon. Okay, so once the dough, this has doubled in size, which is funny, doesn't this still look small? Mm-hmm. Usually I double or triple, so it's coming way over. So now we're gonna punch it down. Our gas guy just filled up our propane tank as well. Okay, so here's what you do. Go ahead, put it on the flour. Oh, nice. The dough feels really good. There's just something about working with fresh dough. Yeah, feels good. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just roll this out. Yes, please. Posey can get it. Hold on, we are making sticky buns. Yeah. So what I start to do before I roll, can you pull that sleeve up a little bit? Thank you. I have my son's basketball game to go to tonight, so I'm actually making an effort to not get dirty now. That's unlike me. Okay, so what I do before I start rolling, this is just what my grandma taught me, is I just start, nope, not yet. I just start making my own rectangle all on my own, because it just gets it going. All right. And then you girls can roll in a bit. My girls do know how to do this, but for time's sake, I'm going to start doing some of it. Do you want to, would you get that, just put that like in the microwave for maybe like 5 seconds. That's our butter. Our butter was ready to go before.
That's funny. I was ready in the oven.
Yeah, I know it.
Oh, look at it.
Did you? Okay. Okay, so do you see how big this is? It's probably, I don't know, a foot by 2 feet maybe. And I'm obviously having to move things out of my way. And once it's even, you're good to go. Yeah, it's all right. Okay, so go ahead. Now Willow, okay, now you do, okay, I see a thin spot here. I just use my finger to move that dough around. All will be well. I hope this feels attainable to you. Okay, now she's gonna pour the butter on.
2 more. Are these like cinnamon rolls?
These sticky buns. Yep, spread it all around, yep.
I don't want to do that because I want my hand to get butter.
Get it all the way to the edges.
They're like basically like cinnamon rolls.
It
Just with the
is.
one
It's
thing.
the same dough and the same process for the most part.
Other than the one.
The sticky part.
Mhm.
Can I put the...
Okay, so now what you do is, I do this by sight, but I know some of you are going to want measurements. So it's approximately about 1/4 cup of sugar and about 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. The recipe is going to be linked below, so you'll hear, or you can read all of that. But I have done this. Can you repeat this a minute? I have done this so much that I just do it by sight now. Okay, so spread me around, girl. That's gonna take too long. It might be closer to 1/2 cup. I just know by feel. Yep.
Put any more?
There we go. These are all parts of the process that normally I would just let my kids do, but because of time, again, I just can't today. After the eventful afternoon. Okay, ready? Here we go. I sprinkle cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Okay.
Why do you have this bench right here? Oh, no, I don't
And then we just use my hands. The reason I use my hands is that's what my grandma did. And when I worked at my parents' restaurant and bakery, most of them used their hands as well, back in the day.
gloves.
I do try to get it. Why don't you go wash them now? I do try to get it all the way to the edge. And you just keep working it around. Because you know, you want that gooey part to be nice and lovely.
How did it not
Okay,
look like
let me
that?
wash my hands.
It didn't.
Okay.
You wouldn't have seen it before.
Are you licking? It's a good thing these are just for us. Could you go flip that screen around?
I'm just looking.
I'd like you to go spray this for me.
Here's the spray.
Perfect. You know where the spray is. Okay. A great tool when you're working with dough, especially cinnamon rolls. I'm gonna have, what are you doing? With your spoon?
I just grabbed it.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna have Willow do this part, and what you do is you scrape it, you scrape it, and then you just roll it. Some people call it the typewriter roll. All right, Willow, you get in there and you do. Okay, so come back over. For the cutting part, it's not challenging. This is what I love this for. You could easily use a knife. I've used a knife before if I can't find this. What I take it's about 1 inch, and I just learned by my thumb. So I usually, well, it doesn't matter. So no, it does matter because I'm going on this side. Don't want to cut my thumb. And I just measure my thumb up and I cut. Willow, you finish that one up for us. This next part is the part that I love because this is where you avoid using frosting and it tastes delicious. So remember, we did this on the stovetop. It's a little bit thicker. The longer it sits, the thicker it gets, and like day number 2 after you bake them off, it's just thick and gooey. It's wonderful. So this is the maple syrup and cream, heavy cream. And what you do is you take it and you pour it in your baking dish. I think I'm gonna need one more baking dish. What was that?
Just a little bit.
Well, because I think I'm gonna need, I'm doing this wrong, I'm right-handed. There we
But
go.
are you gonna leave a little bit so you can pour it on top?
Nope, you don't leave any of it, nope. Because you flip them back over and then it goes onto the, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I asked my kids, I took a vote for all of my kids and I said, who wants pecans? Everybody said none. So I am just gonna do one little row. Remember I told you want some? Okay, I'll do one row of just the rosemary pecans. Again, you can use regular pecans. The rest of these will have no pecans and all will be good. If you are not digging the rosemary, no problem. I just really enjoy unique flavors. I just think it adds that little extra deliciousness.
Need another pan?
I think I do. Grab me another pan. And I'm gonna do 4 rows. All right, put some of those little guys right in there.
In between.
No, maybe right there. Yeah, so like do two beside each other. Yeah, if you have 2 little ones like this, If you have two little ones like this, just put them next to each other. It always happens, no matter how. Good. Great. And then these will go in for a second rise. You know what, Posey? I'm not gonna do that.
Just squish them.
Yeah, we're just gonna squish them in.
I just sprayed it.
It's okay, we'll wash it.
Okay.
Normally, you don't need to do it like this, but it's okay if you do. That's just it. Like, there's so many people that get scared to do it wrong with baking. Do you really, I mean, unless you burn something or cook it too long, it's kind of hard to ruin some things. At least you tried. These are, like I said, these are just for our family. I'm gonna bake them off for my kids tonight. So now these will rise. Let's put another little guy right there. These will rise probably another hour. And then they go into the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes at 350 degrees. Then after they're done being baked, you can always just leave them like this, or you can flip the whole pan over onto a tray, and that's where you see all of the glory and goodness, and they taste so good. So stay tuned for the next part. I have this rising over by my 350 degree oven again, so it will rise just a little bit faster. And I sometimes rotate the pan to help it rise evenly as well. Okay, so I'm thinking of all of these little tips and tricks that I've learned over the years from just my grandma and watching her do what she does. And one thing, when you're letting your sticky buns or cinnamon rolls, so this is actually my base dough for things like that. So I use the same dough recipe when I'm making cinnamon rolls. And it's the best word I heard to describe it as it rises a second time is that it's gonna look swollen, and that's true. It doesn't look like it's just freshly rolled out dough. It looks like it's risen just a little bit. It's not gonna double in size, but it does look like it is just swollen. So, good tip. Here's the other thing why I really enjoy this. I mean, my kids love just the regular cinnamon roll dough recipe as well. But one of the things I do love about this, you know, when you eat something sweet, sometimes it tastes, or it just makes you feel sick afterwards. Like you're enjoying it, but it makes you feel sick. That's what I like about these, is I don't feel sick afterward. Now, if I ate the whole pan, I would, but I do like it because they're not quite as rich as, in my opinion, as like a cinnamon roll that's loaded with frosting, even though I enjoy that too. One of the things I do like about this. Okay guys, they're ready to go in. This took about 20 minutes. Look at that. Do you see, they just look swollen. They're starting to touch. That is how I want them. So you can tell they're golden brown on top, and then on the bottom is all of the sticky part. That's what will be on top in just a second. Okay, so I've done this in muffin tins before, and you can do that if you have a really pretty platter. But usually with how many I'm baking, I find that the 9x13 works great. And then if you have another one to flip it into, it's perfect. And there you go. So we have our side that has just a few little of the rosemary pecans, and the rest are plain. Does that not look absolutely delicious?
Hot.
Touch. Smell. And I can.
Yeah, that's true.